We are back on the Rational Boomer podcast. Hopefully, your day is going well. It is Tuesday, and we're doing a TikTok Live. So it's a combination Rational Boomer podcast and a TikTok Live. We should have some of the regular or usual suspects, as it were, TJ the plumber, Rebecca, Eric, Will, any number of folks. And we're also going to spend some time talking to you folks, too. I think it's very important that everybody gets to speak their mind. The more people talking, the more power, whatever movement we're in the middle of, the more powerful that is. It's important that we have a lot of people talking and offering up their opinions and perspectives. So this is the Rational Boomer podcast, and this is a TikTok Live. We're going to check and see if some of the folks we normally expect are there. And of course, TJ the plumber is always Johnny on the spot. TJ plays two roles with us here during the TikTok Lives. He is not only helps with some of the comments and the questions, but he's also a Trump-la-fuck hunter. And I got to tell you, TJ, you like that shit too much. You've got a weird side to you.
Yeah, well, you're not wrong about that, but you got to enjoy the little things in life, I guess.
Well, you know, I'm doing this later than I expected, and you said, well, I'll just go mess with some Trump-la-fucks while I'm waiting. Did you do that? Did you go out and harass somebody in some other Trump-la-fuck live or something?
You know what? It's weird. None of them were up. Like, I looked through my lives, and they're like the ones that I usually go in and cause trouble before they kick me out. None of those were up. So I just went and made some comments and things that, you know.
Yeah.
That's all.
No, I get it.
It was
low.
It was low key tonight.
Low key. Well, we'll see how many Trump-la-fucks show up here. We're also bringing in Rebecca, who is TJ's wife and also a Trump-la-fuck hunter. Welcome, Rebecca. Thank you for taking the time. I know it's late for you guys out on the East Coast, so I appreciate you accommodating.
Hi, Mike.
Hey, Rebecca.
That's it? That's all she's got?
Sorry, I'm sharing a cheese stick with the puppy right now. So,
well, I tell you what. When it comes to women, I get a lot of disinterest from my wife, from my granddaughter. It's nothing new for me.
That's it's not new disinterest.
I have to bring up the story at hand. Oh. Now, whenever I've talked about Donald Trump, everybody says, well, what if he does this and what if he does that? I said, he can do all those things, but I guarantee you at one point or another, he will fuck up. And the people he hires in the positions, like, say, Pete Hegseth, you can be guaranteed that he will fuck up. And that's the big story. We always heard from Republicans, oh, Hillary Clinton put those emails on an unprotected or unsecure server. Lock her up. That's what they kept saying. Yep. And now we have Pete Hegseth and a bunch of other people on the administration staff, from the vice president to the secretary of treasurer to all these motherfuckers, and they are texting war strategies, times, locations, everything. It's absolutely fucking embarrassing. It's absolutely embarrassing that they would do that, and damned if they didn't do it, right, TJ?
That's right, and it's shameful. But you know, you got to remember that Donald Trump only hires the best people, right? Don't you remember that? He only hires the best. And so I watched today, Pete Hegseth outright lied about it in an interview. Yeah. He said it never happened. And then
we have the texts.
Yeah. And then, of course, Donald Trump does what he always does. When something fucks up, he says, oh, I don't know anything about it. Bullshit. If you're the president of the United States and there's a national security leak, you know about it instantly. He's so full of shit. Oh, I don't know anything about it. I don't know. And you know what? I'll tell you something. I've been thinking about this for a couple of hours. And the conclusion I came to is, why did that happen on that app? And I came to a realization about it, is that I suspect that they're using that app. They shouldn't be, but they're using it because, number one, it's end-to-end encryption. And there's a feature on that app that scrubs the conversations within. You could do it within like 2 minutes or something like that. Because Signal, you can make it so that you can set it so that the conversations disappear. So
it's like Snapchat.
yes, like Snapchat, but a chat log, but it will be erased. And I think that they're using that, and they know that because they can have nefarious conversations that are not part of records through the White House. So all this evil shit's going to go on Signal, and that's why they were on that, because they know that.
So I have some questions because I worked all day, so I didn't even know about it until TJ told me about it at the end of the day because I am working and I'm not paying attention to anything but work. So
Right.
it was on. So the chat happened on Signal,
Yes.
and why was this reporter included in that? Was it a mistake?
Yes.
Do we know?
It was a mistake. It was
Yeah.
inadvertent.
So it was like I forwarded an email, and I accidentally hit the wrong person. Is that like the case? Like,
Pretty much. That's pretty much what happened. And Bren, she said it in the chat, and I said it a minute ago. Signal has end-to-end encryption, so it's more difficult to intercept that stuff, but it's not impossible. So
Right.
nothing's impossible if you have the right technology. But
the federal government, especially in the White House and the Pentagon, they have special applications for communication. They're not supposed to be using Messenger, Snapchat, Signal. None of these things are secure to the standards that the federal government has. And I know that for a fact because my cousin's husband is he's a government contractor for the Department of Defense, and he does encryption. That's his deal, right? So
Right.
none of that stuff is legit to governmental standards. So
I assume they have their own.
yes, they have their own
Communication channels?
Yeah, they have their own
It's
apps.
not like WhatsApp.
It's not a commercial app that's for consumption by the public. You know what I mean? It's not WhatsApp. And so they have their own special contracted applications that they can have those kinds of conversations. But technically, what they did is a crime. It's a crime.
Absolutely, it's a crime. They should all, at very least, everybody that was on that chat, and there was like 8 people tied to the administration that were on that chat, from the vice president on fucking down. They should be at least forced to resign their positions. I mean, this is an inexcusable mishap. I mean, it's just stupid. It should never happen.
No way. It's an embarrassment on the world stage, because why would the rest of the European Union or the rest of our allies? I mean, they're already turning against us, but why would they? Why
Just
would
another embarrassment.
Why would they trust us when there's such a flagrant display of negligence? I mean, that's crazy.
And the thing about it is Sky Jockey 2.0 says they were texting emojis about war like teenagers, and that was pretty silly. And the way they were talking about it, it was like they were ordering pizza. And then for Pete Hegseth to come out and say, that didn't happen. This is what they always do. They try to gaslight, they try to distract, they try to hoodwink us by saying what you saw didn't actually happen. And then Donald Trump saying, I don't know anything about it. So we're bombing people willy-nilly without even consulting with the fucking president? Jesus Christ.
It's actually worse that he said he didn't know anything about it.
I think what he meant was he didn't know anything about the
text.
chat. Yeah, he didn't know anything, which is bullshit. We know that's bullshit. It's a total. As soon as that happened, the president of the United States would be notified about that. That's ridiculous for him to say that he didn't know.
Here's the thing, TJ, and you have to understand my point of view. You said, I think what he meant. Every time that president talks, people have to say, I think what he meant. And the idea that he didn't maybe know about the bombing ahead of time would be far worse. And I prefer to presume the worst of Donald Trump. Whatever fucked up's happening, it's probably more fucked up than we know.
Yeah, I totally
probably.
agree with that.
I mean, there's a distinct possibility that he didn't know about it.
There's a chance he doesn't know about it because people don't share stuff with him because he's
Right.
unstable.
Right, because they don't want to see ketchup fly across the room, you know? So,
How does Pete deny this, though? Does he suggest that?
Was he hacked
Does he
and
sug-
somebody else sent the text? Like, what, how do you deny that?
he kind
Yeah,
of
it must have been Antifa. What?
he kind of said like, "Oh, well, you know, the journalist is making it up. We didn't talk about war plans." He kind of like tried to dumb it down like, "Oh, it was just a little chat. There was no secrets involved in it." But it's bullshit. You know that's bullshit. And there's screenshots to say otherwise. And I'm sure that not everything that was screenshot was given to the public, probably because you know the Department of Homeland Security said, "Hey, you know, whatever you saw in there, you can't share it, or you're gonna it's a crime." You know, you can't.
Yeah.
If you're accidentally exposed to classified information, if you share it, it's still a crime.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I'm going to pull somebody in here. Let's see. Rainbow. We'll see if she takes the bite. Rainbow, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. I didn't realize I requested.
Well, you did. So
I sure
think
did.
fast. Come up with something intelligent.
Well,
What are your thoughts about this Pete Hegseth thing and this whole thing going on Signal and handing around classified information to the general public?
no words. Literally no words. It's so negligent. I'm not surprised. Pete Hegseth. I don't trust him as far as I can throw him.
Yeah.
I can't believe
Well,
that they
and-
even got confirmed. I really can't believe it.
It's what I've said about Donald Trump. I'll say the same thing about Pete Hegseth. No matter what they do, no matter how egregious they are, ultimately they will always fuck up because they're dumbasses.
Yeah.
And that's the only thing I can look forward to is when they fuck up, and they fucked up big this time.
Boy, did they. And they're probably not going to have any repercussions.
No.
Well, yeah, you're probably right. No legal repercussions because the DOJ is fucking controlled by Donald Trump. But I will tell you this. There is one silver lining to all of this. When you take Donald Trump and you take Pete Hegseth, these are all raging, malignant narcissists. And the worst thing you can do to those people is embarrass them. They don't know how to deal with that. So that's why when we get things like this, we need to spread it far and wide and embarrass the piss out of them and watch them step all over themselves trying to figure out a way to distract from it. Pete Hegseth already tried. Donald Trump said, I didn't know anything about it. Of course you didn't. You're only the fucking president.
Right. How did he not know? How do you not know? He has to have known. He has to have known. He's just lying.
Well, yeah, that's what he does. He doesn't lie. It goes back to like the Alien Enemies Act document that he signed. And then when he got pushback, he said, I don't know who signed that. I didn't. Donnie, you're the only motherfucker that can sign it. And there's a picture of you signing it.
He
Jesus.
signed it. Jesus Christ. He signed it.
None of it makes
It's
sense to
absolute-
me.
What part of the country are you in, Rainbow?
North Carolina.
North Carolina. How's the climate down there for the Trump fans? I know there are many down there.
Oh, yeah. I live in a pretty red area. But actually, I live in the Lake Norman area. So it's a red area, but then we do have Davidson College in that area. So there is a little bit of blue in there, which is nice.
That helps.
Yeah,
That
it
helps.
does help.
Yeah. Well, Rainbow, I thank you for coming on, even though you weren't expecting it. You did a fine job.
Oh, well, thank you so much. I've been watching you forever. So,
Thanks, Rita.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate
Yeah,
it. You know,
absolutely.
Rainbow, I can't see your picture very well, and I was almost afraid to pull you up.
you were.
Yeah. Yeah, because I get this all the time. I get all these DMs from these young, attractive women with pictures. They're just dying to meet me, of course. And they're all bots and they're all scammers and stuff. And I go, gosh, she looks younger than most people I see come through here.
I'm 52.
You're 50. Well, you're 13
Well,
years
your
younger than
picture's
me.
Fabulous.
52. Yeah. Must just be a good picture.
I wouldn't know about good pictures. I have none. But thank you,
Oh, that's
Rainbow. I
not true.
appreciate it.
No, thanks for having me. I appreciate it. And I don't know how to get down.
I'll take care of it for you.
Okay, thank you so much.
All right. Thank you very much. That is
Bye.
Rainbow, and we appreciate your coming through. We'll see who else is in here. Let's go to Patricia. Patricia's going to come up. I know a lot, I think doing something like this is important because when something like this happens, everybody has a perspective and an opinion or even a fear about it. So I want to hear what folks have to say. Patricia, you're on board. What's on your mind?
Well, I'm a little frustrated. I actually watched that just a little bit ago, and if I'm not incorrect, I may not have the wording exactly right, but when he was done saying that he didn't know anything about it, I think he was insinuating the texting because after that he said, but I understand it all went well and the attack was good. Something to those words. If you rewatched it, I'm pretty sure it's pretty close to that. He acknowledged that it was going to happen, that it went well.
Yes, that's
No,
what he
I
said.
Yes,
I agree with you.
I'm not the only one.
No, I agree. I agree with what TJ said and what you said, but you may have missed what I said. When it comes to presuming the worst of Donald Trump, I'm going to do that every time. I'm going to presume, whether it's true or not, because it doesn't matter. Truth doesn't matter anymore. I'm going to presume he was fucked up from the beginning all the way down through the text. Yeah, I'm sure
Yes.
he was talking about
You
the
know what?
text.
Another thing I find strange that bothers me a lot, and I've been following almost everybody he's gotten rid of because he didn't like them, whatever. Then the
Yeah.
people he's brought in have either somewhere down the line have problems of a lot of it. Recently, I guess they just arrested somebody for soliciting a minor. They tricked him, and yeah.
That happened in Minnesota.
And Seth is known for, that. Almost every one of them has something to do with that. I don't want to say it, but you know what I'm saying. That aspect of what goes on in their life that shouldn't be, and that's who
Yeah, it
he
seems to
seems to
happen.
want with him.
It seems to happen a lot. The person you were talking about happened in my home state. He was a state senator, Justin. I'm going to say it again because we got to spread this far and wide.
Yes.
Justin Eichhorn was a
Oh,
state
there it is.
senator
Yeah.
in the state of Minnesota. Now, he's the one that introduced a bill suggesting that anybody who doesn't like Donald Trump or has Trump derangement syndrome should be classified as mentally ill. Now that's not going to fucking pass. It's absolutely silly and absolutely stupid. That comes out, everybody's going, what the fuck? Next day, he's arrested for soliciting a minor who wasn't a
Yes,
minor. It was a
that's it.
sting
That's
operation. Then he quit, and his life is fucked up forever. But
And then you've got the other one that supposedly got into the same stuff, Mr. In charge and large, that just text everybody that what he
right,
shouldn't have. He's done the same thing, and then him himself is in trouble for that very thing. But this whole mental thing, I have to laugh because my daughter, for a living, is a supervisor over all of the Kaiser's mental
oh,
health,
okay,
and she cannot stand this man. She's so scared. She's got a little 4-year-old. My little 4-year-old grandson has had 2 brain surgeries before he was
yeah,
5 months. Her family we're Italian, Irish, and her husband is Hispanic. They're all here legally, but do you know my husband fought for this country. He was Air Force and he was Army. He was military police. He passed away recently, but was crying when this man was in office last time,
yeah.
hating what he was doing to the vets and how he was talking about them so horribly. He was actually in tears, and I rarely saw my husband cry, but my daughter did. That was her daddy. And now she turned right around when this started and he got reelected. She's so angry. She went and tried to get passports for her whole family to leave this country that her dad fought for. And it's breaking my heart. Turns out she has her one son is a stepson. And the only thing keeping her right now from getting that is his legal papers, their custody papers. But when she's
Right.
wanting to leave a country her dad fought for, and my dad, my brother was in Vietnam. I lost a brother-in-law in Vietnam. We fought for this, and she's like ready to bail. She says, "I'm out." And she's a therapist. That's what she does for a living. And she laughed when they talked about Trump syndrome, whatever they're trying to say. She goes, "Are you kidding me?" I'm like, "Well, you're a boss, so you make sure it don't happen." You're one of them.
You're absolutely right. It's absolutely tragic.
Yes.
We're white, blue-eyed, TJ and I, like, we're probably, aside from the fact that I'm a woman, are not in any danger. But you know what? If I were married to an Hispanic, I might be freaking trying to flee the country too.
Yeah, and he's
completely
legal. He
and
was born
I
here.
totally do not blame her because there's so many horror stories right now, and I totally do not blame her.
They revoked status from 500,000 legal immigrants, legal ones.
Yes.
What happened to the Republicans saying we don't mind if people come here if they do it the right way?
Yes.
Now that's the biggest hypocrisy that's ever happened. They said we only want people here to come here the right way. Then they revoked 500,000 legal immigrants and sent them packing.
And doctors. I guess there's a doctor or something that they yanked her. They sent a
more than
little
one.
girl fighting cancer away.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
It's all crazy. I don't think there's anything that's been sane about this yet.
And Germans here on visas, and
Well,
they
Mr. Musk is
denied-
here, and he's right in the middle of the whole mix of things, and he's as illegal, well, not
Yeah.
illegal maybe, but he's an alien nonetheless, you know.
No,
He's in the same
he probably
status
is
as
illegal.
they're deported.
He is. He's an illegal immigrant.
That's what I heard. Something about he was supposed to stay in school and he didn't. I just heard this yesterday. Something about he was supposed to keep going and he stopped, and that was no longer allowed to be on that particular what do you call it?
The visa.
Citizen,
program, yeah.
visa to be here. He somehow messed that up and isn't even supposed to be here at all.
Well-
Much less in the middle of our stuff. And the sad thing, my daughter's baby, and she's also scared because he's 4 now, and bless his heart, he has to go through therapy every day. He's very slow now because the doctor nipped his brain in surgery. But the point is, she's scared to death because they could take away this baby's therapy, his special therapies during the day to get him to use a spoon. And she's like, "Mom, my baby, what's going to happen with him? He won't have any of the things he has, his special schooling that they're trying to work with him." She's scared of all of it now. And I'm like, my husband fought for this, and my dad and her grandfather. This is ridiculous. This man did nothing. All he goes in there and does is tries to save money for the rich.
I don't even know if he knows how to do that. This guy isn't a builder of any sort, which is ridiculous since he was a developer. Everything he goes into, from his family to businesses to politics, he's a destroyer. I've said this before. He's kind of like that 70s rock band who goes into a hotel room and tears it to shit for no fucking reason and then leaves it for other people. That's who Donald Trump is.
Well, the funny thing is, he doesn't seem to know anything about anything going on around him. When he's questioned, it's, "I don't know anything about that. I didn't know anything about
Right.
that." What do you know?
Right.
You know,
How does the president of the United States not get briefed on everything that's
that's what I'm saying. I don't get it. Just like this thing with him, you know, he knew. You know, he knew, because he said shortly after that about it. But it's mind-boggling. I belong to a very large church. And it's really sad because a lot of them believe they're Trumpers. And I have to tiptoe because I'm like, "Hi, how are you? Goodbye." And yet we do have our little group. Well, it's bigger than that, but I'm just saying it's not nearly as much. That we're walking around on eggshells trying to be careful what we say about Trump. Now, I'm not as careful. My daughter definitely isn't. When she's come to, I sing. So when she's come
Don't
to
be
sing,
careful.
yes, that's her. My daughter has no filter. She's Irish and Italian and no filter. And she sat in
Way
the
to go.
pews and they were talking Trump, and she turned around and said, "Are you kidding me?" And I'm like, "Oh my God." Oh my gosh. But she went out and read it. Her political science was her second degree, but she absolutely cannot stand this man. And anybody whispers his name, she's on it and she's riding it. I'm like, "Okay, you go ahead, tell him."
Which is awesome
Well,
because it's what we need, except scary for her if her husband is Hispanic. Like, it's
Yes,
very
that's that, and her disabled baby, my little grandson.
Yes.
It scares her to
Yeah.
death. They're going to strip him of everything.
yeah.
I tell you how this is going to shake out ultimately. I've always said whatever's going on with Donald Trump and this horror that's happening in Washington, D.C. and around the country, it's going to come to a crashing end at some point. It's going to crash and burn at some point. It's just inevitable. That's how it works out. But there are going to be a lot of people in this country that are going to have to answer for the mistreatment of immigrants and kids and elderly people. There's going to be a lot of shame to go around. And people are going to live the rest of their lives in shame for the things they supported. It'll be akin to what happened in Germany. Well, I was told to do it, or I just went along with everybody. There's going to be a lot of shame trolled around. And I got to tell you, if I don't have Donald Trump to rip anymore, that's what I'm going to do, is remind people who supported this clown and offer them as much shame as they can fucking possibly handle, and then some more. This doesn't end when Donald Trump is gone. These people need to pay the price for the rest of their lives for the damage and destruction and horrors they've committed on this country.
Yes, definitely. And the thing is, I myself am scared to death. I watch this every day. I watch your show every day. I worry
Thank
because
you.
I am a widow now. I lost my husband recently, and I live on only widow's
sorry.
benefits. That's all I have is my widow's benefits. And if they pull that from me for 1 month, every single thing I have to pay is gone. Everything. There's no
Yeah.
coming back from that. And I'm hoping enough Republicans will see that it's going to affect them too. They can't just pull ours. They're going to have to pull everybody's Social Security. And they'll get it too.
I'm going to be surprised if it happens, because that will start. I mean, everybody talks about a civil war or a world war. That's going to start a war in this country like we've never seen, because it impacts everybody, not just Democrats, but Republicans. What people don't understand is if you took Social Security away from 70 million people, over and above the pain and damage it would inflict on those Social Security the people that receive Social Security, it would absolutely fucking crash this economy if 70 million people couldn't buy anything anymore. The devastation would be incredible. And that's why I can't believe, even if they're afraid of Donald Trump, they would allow that to happen.
I certainly hope not. You would say, well, maybe you could go to work. I am 71 years old, and I am disabled, and so yeah, I can't. I haven't been able to work now for a little bit. Worked in a psych hospital, yes, and now there's no way I could possibly work now, even if I wanted to try. But I am a widow. I'm a disabled widow, and I'm like thinking in my mind every day. I listen, and every day I think, my God, not only would they, yes, like you're saying, stop all the buying, there'll be no buying. So if he thinks it's stopped now because people are just protesting against some of these companies, now they're going to stop because they don't have any money to buy anything with
Right.
anywhere. So I don't know what he doesn't think at all. He doesn't seem to know anything he's doing, and that frustrates my daughter to no end. She's like, nobody sees this.
Well, TJ, you've always had some input on what you think will happen with Social Security. Why don't you give us your point on it at this stage? Things have changed, obviously, but I'm curious as to what you think.
Well, I think the plan on Social Security is a long-term plan from the Republicans. And what I mean by that is they want Social Security to fail, but they want it to die a slow death. Because there's problems with Social Security that will come up in the future, but that's going to be their excuse to privatize it. They could fix Social Security tomorrow if they took the cap off what people, the elite pay into it. It's a $165,000 cap, and then after that they don't pay anymore. That's bullshit. Ronald Reagan caused the destruction of Social Security because they stole money from it. That was the beginning of them stealing money from it. If they took the cap off of the rich and the billionaires and millionaires, like Elon Musk paid his cap in the first 15 minutes of the year. That's crazy. If they took off the cap and said, you pay it all the way up, it would be totally solvent and funded from now until the end of time. Because
right, it would.
Because Social Security is really no different than a pension plan. I mean, that's basically what it is. And so this shortfall, this thing they're talking about, they want that to happen. They want it to be insolvent, so then they can say, oh, well, we got to privatize it because the private sector can make it better. We'll give that program to Wall Street. We'll invest it in the stock market, and all these elite people in Wall Street know better than everybody else. That's their plan. That is their plan. They want to privatize it. And that's absolutely the worst thing that could happen.
And I will
They
tell you
want-
how long this has been going on. I saw a millennial on TikTok say, really admonishing boomers. Boomers, you had it so easy. You were handed everything. You have Social Security. Now there's no way I'm going to get Social Security. And I have to tell this story. Patricia, maybe you've experienced the same thing. Back in 79, 80, 81, I was in my late teens, early 20s. Ronald Reagan was becoming president of the United States. At that time, I remember old people that were looking at their Social Security, looking at me and saying, you'll never get your Social Security. It'll go broke by then. It won't be solvent by the time you get it. And at that point in time, I don't fucking care. I'm 19. I'm thinking I'm going to be rich and famous anyway. I don't need fucking Social Security. But that's what they said. They kept saying it's not solvent. It's never going to last. You'll never get it. But Social Security is so important to the country at this point. They can't afford to let it go because it would destroy everything and cause a backlash like nobody's ever seen. Anybody who votes to get rid of Social Security is committing political suicide.
Yeah.
If you think people are mad about Tesla right now, this ain't fucking nothing. And tens of thousands of people are going to protest with AOC and Sanders and Teslas and all this stuff. It'll get crazier. Will, who comes on here frequently, always says the villagers will come out with the torches and pitchforks. They have already started to do that, and it's not going to get any better.
Well, the thing was back in the 70s and 80s, they said it wouldn't be solvent because they didn't account for the fact back in the day that people were only going to live to be. Back in the day, they only lived to be into their 60s and 70s, and now they live to be in their 80s, 90s, 100s. Well, but that's the thing. Like, they keep raising the retirement age to suit that. So it doesn't matter. Like, you're paying into it longer. So, like, that's not a valid argument anymore.
No, it's a bullshit argument because the people coming behind fund the program. But when you steal
Right.
from the program, then it creates problems. So, but the people behind it are funding it. As long as that keeps happening, it remains solvent unless you steal money from it and do nefarious things with the funding. It's just like I said a minute ago, like any other pension plan. Like, I'm paying into my pension right now for the people who are retired now. And the people behind
Right.
me are going to pay for me. And it just keeps going because it's like a socialized program. That's how it works.
What I don't get, and I know that everybody posts this, and I know it's such a simple concept, but like, we pay into Social Security our own money. Like,
Right.
it's not. I mean, it's our money, and people argue on several different fronts about like, well, how do we, it's our money. How do we pay into it? How are they able to do this and that with it? And I agree. Like, it's such a simple concept. Like, we pay into it, we get out of it. Like, how? And I understand with this administration that that's not how things work. They're just going to take whatever they want, and they'll just say, oh well, we're just going to appropriate those funds for something else, and we're going to cut it off, and whatever the case is. But that's our money that we pay into, and we get quarterly in the mail Social Security reports of if you retire at this point in time, this is what you're going to get, because they track all the money that you've made in this time period and all the money you've paid into. And like, I mean, I'm sure we all get those letters, right? Everybody gets those
Right,
letters?
right.
I don't think I've ever gotten one quarterly, but yeah, you get
I get
them.
a quarterly letter that tells me what I've paid into Social Security.
I don't get them quarterly, but periodically, yes.
You know what's strange to me? Well, not strange. What's puzzling to me is I ran a business for years. Two things. First thing, I don't even understand how we got a felon in office, because the business I ran 30 years, I wasn't allowed to hire anyone with one felony count, and that's a Christmas tree and pumpkin patch business. I was not allowed to have one person that had a felon. It was on the application, and I could not hire them. But two, the thing that bothers me about Social Security a little bit is I worked and I paid into Social Security 4 years. So did my husband. My husband was 85 when he passed. And he worked his fanny off all his life. We both paid into it. But once he passed, one of our incomes drops off. I no longer
Right.
get mine. I can either get his or I can get mine. His is more. So, of course, the veterans, they just made that decision for me. I didn't even do it. They took over and did everything.
Right.
But my point is, then what happens to the money I paid in, though? Yeah, I am getting his as if he was still alive. But what happens to the money I paid? That
Good
stays
point.
in, doesn't it? I mean, or are they just going to take it for their lunch? I
Well,
don't know.
that is a good point, and not for nothing. But if it were a good system, the money you paid in because you're getting your husband's, and it's enough. If it's enough for you to sustain yourself on, which it probably isn't, but if it was, then that money would go to fund others.
Yes. So why are
Which
they
is how it
complaining
works.
that it's not going to work? How many people has this happened? My mother was a widow, and she got my dad's. What happened to her money? It went for the other people coming
Yeah,
behind.
my mom is dealing with the
Exactly.
same thing now because my dad passed away 2 years ago, and my
Yeah.
mom is dealing with the same
People
thing. Like
forget that,
she
let
gets
me put it this way:
one
the
social security check.
establishment forgets that, or thinks we don't remember that.
Hey,
Yeah.
I gotta ask you guys something. Did you hear about the small business loans the 8-year-olds are getting that Doge found from Social Security? Did you guys hear about that?
What? No way.
The 8-year-olds are
No.
getting small business loans. They are the dumbest.
Let me
I swear to God.
let me
They,
tell you, when my husband passed away, I don't like to reminisce too much on it, but when he did, the VA took over everything for me. Thank God they handled everything. But I'm going to tell you right now, there was no getting any more Social Security. It was cut, done, and over. They already transferred whatever to me as widow's benefits. He was cut off. He
right.
wasn't allowed to draw being passed away for the next 100 years. It's
Right.
done. They take it as soon as they know someone's passed. They cut it off, and then they see, does it need to go? Is there a widow? And that's where it goes. But if there isn't, it's done. But no, he couldn't still be drawn on it for 150 years, or I could have kept mine. No, that's not how it works. As soon as there's a notification that someone has passed, it's sent off to Social Security, and you're cut off, and that includes just about everywhere new. Before I even had a chance to know what
Yeah.
happened.
Right.
The funeral home takes care of all of that for you. Like they
Yeah.
have to send it
Usually
in.
they
have to
do.
get,
Yeah, in my case, the
and they have to
veterans
get letters
did. But
back from Social Security saying that it's like a whole process. Like
I,
yes, yes. And like I said, in my case, it was the VA because he had served Army and Air Force, and they just took out the whole ball and ran with
yeah,
it. But they do it automatically. There's no
well, I
lingering
think
for
that's
100 years.
I think that's the law. When they
Yes,
issue the death certificate, by law they have to fill out the Social Security form, and they have
yes,
to
and it's
send it
Right.
in
immediate.
to the
It's immediate.
SSA.
they
Yeah,
do. It's part of the process for you to actually even be able to get death certificates that is taken care of.
I never even got my husband's death certificate. It happened right away when he passed, probably in the hospital, and it got. He was a veteran, so they tell the veterans. Of course, they know about it, and immediately it happened. It was done, and like I said, I'm still waiting to get a death certificate.
Yeah,
I'm just,
right.
same thing with my mom with my dad, who's a veteran as well, and it's the same thing. But like you, that all has to be processed before you can even get death certificates.
yes, but they automatically stopped their Social Security. It was stopped.
Yes,
Right.
immediately. And if
Not a
you
100 years later.
and if he died 10 days into the month, you have to give that money back.
Yeah, yeah. Whatever. Well, they'll take it from whatever day he died, and if
Yep.
Yeah, they'll probably be finding small business loans for 8-year-olds from the VA too,
that's what I mean.
coming up
That's
here.
baloney. When I
Yeah,
heard, oh, they're drawing for 150 years, I'm like, there's no way. When you die, they take it immediately and cut it off.
Well, here's the thing about 8-year-olds getting Social Security benefits. There's probably a lot of 8-year-olds getting Social Security benefits because when a young father dies, his benefits go to the
Yes,
kids.
yes,
So
I
that's
agree.
not surprising or unusual or anything. Patricia, thank you for taking the time to talk to us. I appreciate it, and I wish you the best and stay in touch.
Oh, bless you. I watch you all the time, and I just thought, I got to get in here. This man is making me crazy tonight. And when
Thank,
I heard that
thank
about
you.
him not knowing what went on, I thought, no, I'm pretty sure I saw him say it went well. So he
Yeah,
knew.
yeah.
Bless you.
Well, thank
yeah.
you, Patricia.
You have to drop me out of the box. I'm not real
Well, it's funny that she says Donald Trump is making her crazy. That's usually my job with my wife, and I'm quite adept at it. I'm very, very talented when it comes to driving people crazy. Certain types. My wife and every Trump-la-fuck, for that matter.
And it's silly. Like, I knew kids growing up that one of their parents or their parent passed away and they got an SBA from Social Security. That's not like uncommon knowledge. Maybe not
No.
everyone knows it, but that's pretty common knowledge. If you're a child and your parent passes away, you get an SBA. That's normal.
Yes.
You know?
Well, yeah.
Absolutely.
Maybe if you're a legal immigrant from South Africa, it's not as familiar to you, but it's a thing. It's a thing.
Absolutely.
Bringing somebody else up here, assuming they pop up. Sometimes we have problems with actually people coming through, and this one looks like it's not coming through.
Oh no.
All right.
Hey, I got a question
ahead.
I got a question for the chat. I want to poll the chat. Who has more DUIs? Pete Hegseth or the older millennial?
Well,
Put your answer in the chat. Eric, you can answer too.
They're going to tell you Joe Biden, I'm
What?
sure.
The question was for the chat, who has more DUIs? Pete Hegseth or the older millennial?
yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
God.
That's going to be a tough one. Who's got the lower IQ? Who's got the lower IQ? That's going to be another
That's a
one.
tough question.
I've got
That is-
another
Who
one
drinks
for
too
you,
much?
TJ.
There's actually
All right.
quite a few Trump-la-fucks out here tonight. There hasn't been lately, but there is quite a few.
Who's wrong more often, the elder millennial or Donald Trump?
Oh, no one can answer that. Nobody.
Eric,
Off
Eric,
each other, though, so.
Eric is the analytical Iowan. He's from Iowa. He's on this live frequently. He's on the podcast frequently. I've got to get your take about this whole thing with Pete Hegseth and these errant texts on a public forum or somewhat public forum and just completely fucking himself up. What were your thoughts when you heard that story?
Jesus Christ. Just the incompetence of this administration as a whole. This sums it up rather nicely. They do things that are ass backwards. You know, they're sloppy. They do things like this, and then it's going to always be somebody else's fault. Somehow, it's not going to be Pete Hegseth's fault.
No,
Not
God, no.
anybody that was involved. It's good. I saw something that there was like a journalist that was also in this group chat somehow,
Yes.
Yeah, he was
Probably-
inadvertently. That's how
Yeah.
we found out about it.
and that journalist is somehow going to be the one that is to blame for all of this, especially in that world. They fuck it up, but
Interest-
it's never their fault.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he meant to click Eric the Trump-la-fuck, but he actually clicked Eric the Atlantic freaking news guy.
Well, yeah, well, here's the thing.
ridiculous.
The guy's name is Jeffrey Goldberg, and he's an editor with the Atlantic. And he was brought into this chat, and he didn't understand it. Then he watches what goes on, and immediately he thinks he's getting set up or it's disinformation or something. So he doesn't say anything about it at all. And then a couple days later, they actually do what they were talking about in this chat, and he goes, "Holy fuck."
Until
They
he realized
included
he
me
struck
into this.
gold.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, as I've said before, Eric, and I think you agree with me on this, there may be no legal ramifications because Donald Trump controls the DOJ, but the sheer embarrassment of this for Donald Trump and Pete Hegseth is going to take its toll. There's going to be a lot of ketchup or bourbon thrown around the room after they have to deal with this shit.
Oh, probably both. But what'll probably happen is there's going to be somebody. I don't know if it'll be Hegseth, but there'll be somebody that was in that group chat that's going to be the fall guy. That's going to be the one that they're going to say is the one who added this reporter erroneously, even if it was Hegseth. And they'll be the one to get fired. Especially if Donald Trump actually hears about how bad the stories are and how bad it makes him look incompetent.
Whoever's lowest on the
Somebody's
totem
going to have
pole.
to be responsible, and it won't be Trump, and it won't be Hegseth, probably.
No, it'll be whoever's lowest on the totem pole in that chat.
Well, that's the thing. That's the thing. It's not. There wasn't that many people low on the totem pole. J.D. Vance was in that. Tulsi Gabbard was in that. The Treasury Secretary was in there. These were all big shots in this thing. And so I don't know who they can use as a scapegoat.
Oh, they'll
but
throw somebody
they
under the
fucked.
bus for sure.
But as Eric, as you and I have talked about before, count on it. Guaranteed. Bet the farm that at some point Donald Trump will fuck up, and anybody he hires, like Pete Hegseth, is going to fuck up. And the fuck ups have just begun. There's going to be more.
Or they'll just blame Signal in general. Like it'll be their fault that it was something to do with the app. It wasn't them.
Yeah, that sounds likely. They can scapegoat it onto Signal and say,
Although
"Oh,
Marco
Signal's
Rubio's already
fuck up."
been thrown under the bus, so he may be the one.
Well,
Yeah, no.
Eric, you missed something I said earlier about why this happened, and obviously Signal is not a sanctioned app operation for classified communication for the federal government.
Right.
Right.
And I was thinking about this earlier, and I mentioned this a bit, and I just want to say it again, is that I think there's something more nefarious about what's going on with that. They're using Signal to keep off the radar of records. So they're having these little private conversations on Signal to keep them out of record. So they can conduct all their evil shit behind the scenes without it being, part of the National Archives.
Oh yeah, they're trying to go around the national record keeping thing. That's why they're using Signal.
Yes.
In the
Because
chat, so they can delete the record of the chat.
yes.
Very easy. All of that. That's part of what they're trying to do. I think you're right. I think you're onto something there. Somebody in the chat said, as far as who might get scapegoated, is if he's involved, it could be Marco Rubio.
Yeah.
Because Rubio's already gotten thrown under the bus for the whole. I didn't sign the Alien Enemies Act. That was Rubio's idea. He wanted them gone, so we did it.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah,
There's
that's
Rubio-
what I just said. Like
not gonna
Rubio
make
is
it
already a
always.
scapegoat.
What,
Well,
Rebecca?
Hegseth.
That's what I just said. Rubio is already the scapegoat, so they might as well just use him.
They could.
Right?
Well, I tell you this. In Donald Trump's first term, he had 4 or 5 defense secretaries. So Hegseth could get nailed too, because this won't be his last fuck up. I don't think he lasts the year. They'll bring in some other clown before the year is up, and they'll be the defense secretary. I'm pulling somebody in now. I have a feeling this has a military bent to it. Foxtrot, Tango, Delta, are you there?
Yo, I'm here.
What's on your mind?
Appreciate you bringing me up, but where I've been watching you for a while, never been on your live before.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us.
I've got my opinion of Pete, but I'll leave that to myself. I got an email from him saying, "What did I do last week?" So
Do you work for the Defense Department?
I do. I've worked
okay.
I've worked for the DoD for 15 years in procurement.
Okay.
Did it proudly, supporting our warfighters. A simple Google search will show you that the people that do what I do make on average 25 to 30% less than our counterparts in industry.
Right.
And I didn't mind making that because there was security to the job, because there was a work-life balance, which now they've stripped all of that away. They want us in there in the office full time. Not sure why. Honestly, I'm kind of thinking, you know what? I'm ready to be treated like a non-government employee. And I would like they did studies when they sent us home when the vid hit, right? And we started teleworking full time. And we did our jobs. And then they got through all of that. Things started, opening up, businesses opening up. Government said, well, should we bring our people back to our office? And they did their studies. And if you look those up, we were 12% more productive while we were teleworking. And I'm not surprised because we could sleep a little longer. We could, we didn't have to take a whole half a day off to take a kid to the dentist or orthodontist. It was a quick run during a lunch hour, and then get back to work. So I'm with Mega on this. I'm ready to be treated like a non-government employee. I expect a 25 to 30% raise to deliver 12% less productivity.
That seems reasonable in
Doesn't
government.
it though? Right? So
Well, what's the climate? You work in the DoD. You know other people that work in the DoD with all this going on and this new Secretary of Defense. What is the climate amongst people? How are they feeling at this point?
I'm not going to lie. Everybody's kind of nervous about what's going on. And
Right.
When we get back to the office and we get this email from some unknown source that we don't even recognize, saying HR, and giving us this offer to resign, right?
Right.
Nobody knew what that was. If I send another government employee an email, it's got my name in it, it's got my information in it. You know who sent it. This could be coming from China, Russia. I have no freaking idea. So
Could be coming from a Nigerian prince for all the fuck
exactly.
you know.
And so we were instructed not to respond to any of this garbage coming over until they finally, did their investigations and learned that, okay, this is coming from OPM and we need to respond to it. So we were told to respond to it. Now, there's absolutely no guidance on what you need to send other than make sure you're not sending, information that's going to be putting you in the same position Pete's in right now, using his text messages and including a reporter, right?
Right.
Normally, when we send stuff out to people we don't know, it's going to go through a full OPSEC review. It could take weeks just to get that approved and then put it out there. So what do we do here? So I've taken the approach where I fill mine out. I pack probably 60, 70 acronyms in what I'm doing. So if you want to figure out what the fuck I'm doing, you better break out a DoD dictionary, and it's going to take you 3.5 hours. But I asked for a red receipt, never got one. And here's the scary part. I encrypted the message because I don't know who this is going to. And I get an automatic pop-up saying that the recipient doesn't have the necessary credentials to open this fucking email. Can you fucking believe that?
Are you fucking kidding me?
No, I wish I was kidding you. I wish I was kidding you.
Wow.
So, I'm honestly thinking about taking my next 5 bullets, which I'm going to have to put in when I go in tomorrow, and typing them out and putting it through Google Translate and sending it to them in fucking Russian. I feel like I should probably learn that.
Oh, that's super easy to do. So
Right.
Hey, Foxtrot, I know some people that work at the VA, and they said, fuck that, we're not even answering it because we don't work for OPM.
If they don't work for OPM, they shouldn't answer it.
Right, exactly.
I didn't answer it based on the instruction of the people I work for. When the people I work for said, you need to answer it, then I answered it. But, again, there's literally zero guidance on what you're supposed to send them. So.
Let me ask you this, Foxtrot. Have you ever, in the time you've been in the DoD or in government in general, seen this level of incompetence? Now, we know that the government has its share of incompetence, but this has to be at a level you've never seen before. I mean, it's almost silly, the shit that happens.
Okay. You got this Department of what Doge, whatever these morons call themselves right now. I don't think anybody realizes how much liability these morons are creating for the U.S. government. Okay?
Oh, yeah.
There's only 2 ways to cancel a government contract. One is a T for D, termination for default. And these contractors didn't do anything wrong, so you can't do a T for D. It's not their fault that you're canceling this contract. So the other one is a T for C, termination for convenience, right? And when you do that, you open this big ass door of liability, because every contract that you cancel, they get to sit down with their people, bring their lawyers in, bring in whatever teams they need to bring in, sit down, figure out right to the penny what we still have to pay out, and so on and so on. And when the dust settles, all of those people are on the clock at that point, and the government pays that bill.
Right.
Yeah, that's dependent on the terms of the contract, whether you have a mediator or you just go out and out in court. I read a lot of contracts for
Hey.
a lot of even government contracts for my business.
I've done T for Cs. I tried to do a T for D. Government didn't have the balls to do it at the time, or didn't want to, whatever. But the last T for C that I did, termination of convenience, when the dust settled, the contractor got paid more than the face value of the contract.
I believe that.
I generally, like, whenever I read any of those T4Cs, I strike them out of my contract agreements and see if they'll sign it.
Well, if it's a contract with the government, you can't scratch it.
No, yeah, most of my contracts aren't with government, but they try to
Gotcha.
pull that same
Yep. No, I
bullshit.
understand that. No, but from my position, you're going to do a contract with the federal government. That contract, that clause is staying in the contract.
Hey, Foxtrot, I have a relative that's a DoD contractor. Would you agree or disagree that the contractors that work for the DoD have enough money to make that worth their while?
Not only do they have enough money to make that worth their while, but if this freaking ignorant administration keeps up with these tariffs, they're gonna they're gonna there's a clause in there. I'd have to go look it up. It's called taxes something whatever. If the contract was, okay, back it up a little bit. There's basically two types of contracts in terms of how they get paid. You've got firm fixed price, right? Firm fixed price is when you agree to a price, does not matter how much it costs the contractor to produce that item, they have to sell it to the government in the amount of what they agreed. That puts all the risk on the contractor. We love, as a government, doing those types of contracts because we don't assume any risk.
Right.
Right. The other one is a cost reimbursement type contract. And those are the ones where we agree to a fee and it doesn't matter how much it costs the contractor to produce that item, we pay it. They just keep submitting bills.
It's a T&M contract.
That's a time and material. So that would be, that's leaning on more of like the services. But yeah, it's similar, very similar. Let's rewind a little bit. The firm fixed price contract, where we think we're protected as the government, meaning we've agreed to an amount and that's what we expect you to build it for, and that's all we're going to pay you. There's a clause in there that says that if you are exposed to a new tax or something, and it doesn't specifically say tariff, but any judge is going to read between the lines and say, oh, you didn't know this at the time? Any additional costs that you have to assume in part of building whatever the government wants, you can turn around and file an equitable adjustment with the government and get paid for that.
Wow.
It's huge.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of fucking money going out because Donald Trump and everybody else fucked up. And they're doing this all for performative reasons. We're tough, we're strong. And Donald Trump doesn't think ahead, neither do the Republicans. They only think about the moment in time that they're dealing with, and they want this perception that they're strong and tough. But then when it all works its way out, they end up looking stupid again.
I don't think I have enough followers to pull up apps and stuff and lose connectivity. So who's got a calculator?
I do.
Well, there's roughly any given day, 11 million contracts out there that the federal government has with employees, and you can look that up. We have looked at how much time and effort and energy it takes us to do a modification to a contract, and when the contractor is at fault for something and we have to mod the contract, we charge them an extra $500. Okay, that's my time to do the mod and whatnot, and the other people involved. Somebody, go ahead and multiply 11 million by $500, because we've been instructed to pull out the segregation of facilities clause from every single open contract.
5.5 billion.
5.5
Are you sure that's
billion
billion?
fucking
Because I'm looking
dollars.
at this number and it may be trillion. Are you sure?
That is what the U.S. government is going to spend to pull a clause that's been on the books since the 1960s that guaranteed that some racist piece of shit business owner that wanted to have white tea only signs hanging over his drinking fountain in his bathrooms did not get a federal contract and get federal money. So we're going to pay $5.5 billion to pull that clause out of our contract.
Yeah, it's
You want to talk
it's
waste?
it's
Fuck
five-
Doge.
it's 5.5 billion. Yes.
Yeah.
That's a lot of money.
It is a lot of money.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a lot of money. Well, Foxtrot, thank you for joining us. You've been incredibly informative, and that's what I like about the people that come on this. Some of these people are so smart, so experienced, so positioned. It's very valuable. So thank you very much.
Foxtrot, I actually like to have additional conversations with you because I deal with contracts all the time, and this is extremely interesting to me.
Feel free to contact us back here anytime. And if you want to email me at rationalboomer@gmail.com, we can put you on a regular podcast with TJ and Rebecca, and that would be an interesting conversation.
That would be great.
I'd love to do it. Right now, I got to get my ass to bed because I got to get up at the ass crack of dawn. You know, I got to
read
get
some
back to that
contracts?
office. I got to be in that
gotta get-
office.
Yeah. And be sure to log what you're doing, too, because we need to know.
Right. Yeah, everybody needs to know what I'm doing. My 5 bullets. Yeah, I'll work on that.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Foxtrot. I appreciate it.
All right. Good night, guys.
Night.
Night. That's why I like bringing people up here, because we always get people with different perspectives, whether an elderly person who's worried about some of the things going on or somebody who's working in the DOD. That's fucking amazing. And we appreciate them showing up. I'm going to bring up somebody who we all know, who's a frequent contributor to the lives, Oliver's mom.
Hi, everyone.
Hey, Oliver's mom. Hey, how you doing? What's up with you tonight?
Oh, just this craziness that's going on today. I mean, I know you guys started out talking about the email chain or the text chain
Right.
on that Signal website, or that was just crazy. I mean, how many people would have been put in danger if that had gotten into the wrong hands?
Well, absolutely.
You know, I mean,
And this is the fuck up we know about. How many fuck ups have there been that we don't know about?
exactly. I mean, when conference calls are done or things like that are done through text messages, there's usually someone within that group that's keeping track of who's on the call or who's in the text chain. And I don't know who should have
We
been
all
doing
know that there's none of that bullshit going on right now. There's no freaking security going on right now.
You know what?
Are you
I
kidding me?
want to tell you guys something. I sit on a bunch of governmental authorities, and I do it as a public service. So I'm not paid by that. You know, like I sit on these boards for governmental entities, and everything that we do is a matter of public interest. So when we have a meeting, it's a public record, right?
Right.
It's not any different for these guys if they meet together and talk. The National Archives are supposed to keep track of that. So what they're doing is not in compliance with the law. It doesn't comply with the Sunshine Act. It's not, even though it's not public information per se, it still needs to be part of the National Archives.
Well, keep in mind, our president has private tea parties with Vladimir Putin, and nobody
Yeah.
knows what goes on in there. This is just common practice amongst the Trump administration. It's all covert, it's all bullshit, and most of it's illegal.
Right. Exactly. And then to go with a little bit of what Foxtrot was saying, there's government contractors who have contracts to do things, but then there are also employees that are hired as under the title of contractor. And
Right.
he was saying that he's getting so much less, was getting so much less pay under the title he has. Well, that's true. I had someone in my family that was working for the DoD, and their government job as a regular government employee was much higher than when they went back as a contractor and were making an hourly wage. But those contractors that are in there doing things that are considered contractors, they're still making a good amount of money, but they're doing it because they, like he said, they like their job, they like what they're doing, they feel like they're contributing, and they've maxed out, where they should be retiring from the government, but want to keep contributing. And
Right.
but it's still a lot of money. Those people are still making a lot of money. The person I knew was only working part-time and was making close to six figures part-time. So it's, it's crazy. But I know a lot of the security stuff from talking to that person. And these people should have been in a secure situation. They should have been all together in a skiff somewhere talking about this stuff, in a situation where it wasn't going to be able to be leaked or accidentally seen or heard or anything like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we're not in normal times, so.
No, we're
No.
not. But it's, we can't keep putting our people in danger. That's flat out putting all those military that are working, that are volunteered military, working for us. If they'd gotten to the wrong hand, it doesn't matter where they're located, they would have been in danger.
The problem is that what the electorate did to us in this last election, who's going to stop them? Who's going to hold them accountable? That's the big question at this point.
Yeah,
And this is what's so troubling.
exactly.
It almost has to swirl into a pile of shit before half these people will stand up and say, "Oh, I don't like that." They're all terrified of Donald Trump and the Republican Party, so they're not going to say anything. The DOJ and Pam Bondi isn't going to do anything. I mean, fuck, she's telling AOC she better watch out because she says some mean things about Elon Musk. Fuck you.
Yeah,
These people are shameful.
they
Well,
are.
that's exactly it. Like we keep saying, like, well, the Congress has the power over this, and the Senate has the power over this, and we can't do that, and they can't do this. It's all bullshit right now. Like they can do whatever the fuck they want,
Right,
and it's up to
exactly.
us to go to the courts and fight it, and that which takes an enormous amount of time. So it's
Yeah.
just everything is just a complete shit show chaos right now.
It is definitely, and I do think that Rubio is going to be the one that's going to be ultimately thrown under the bus for this chain of text because, in my opinion, he's the minority. He's the one they're going to get rid of first. I don't know.
Yeah, he's
Yeah,
already
you're
been
probably-
thrown under the bus once, so he's already the target.
Yeah, you're
Yeah, but he's
probably
going to be
right
the one.
about that.
If someone gets let go, it's probably going to be him because he like you said, he's been a scapegoat so far on all of these other things. But they have to get rid of someone. Hey, they're going to get rid of the minority.
Well, of course the brown guy did it. Who else would have fucking done it?
Exactly.
Yeah, that's absolutely ridiculous. Oliver's mom, thank you very much for coming on. I appreciate it. We've got a couple other people we want to get up, but thank you very much for your loyalty and persistence and insights. It's always very valuable for us, and you're, of course, welcome back anytime. If you want to come on the podcast sometime, you're welcome there too.
Okay, great. Well, thank you all and have a good night. I'll still
All
be
right,
here listening.
All right, thank you.
Okay.
I just want to say something too, apropos of nothing. I've got another. Let's see here. I've got another known commodity coming up next. But I just want to say, earlier today I was coming out of my local Walgreens store, and I just want to acknowledge this. I was coming out of my local Walgreens store, and a lady was coming out the other doors, and we were kind of walking side by side, and she kept looking at me weird, and I'm going, I have something on my lip, or what? What the fuck do I have? And she goes, "Oh my God, Rational Boomer! I was hoping I'd meet you here." And she was very nice. Her name is Teresa. If she's listening, thank you for making my day by recognizing me and acknowledging what we're doing and giving the support that way. So Teresa, it was good to see you in the Walgreens parking lot. We live in the same town, so you'll see me everywhere. I'm going all these fucking places. So the next person I'm bringing up is somebody you all know because he shows up in a lot of lives with Eric and C Temptation and some of the others. Trucker T. Hey, Trucker T, how you doing?
It didn't let me come up. Oh, there it is.
You're up.
Okay. I just had 2 quick points, Mike, and I'm gonna drop back down.
All right.
After listening to Foxtrot Delta, right?
Yeah.
Do we, if we think about that on an intellectual level, think about who's replacing that or who's trying to replace that. You've got Elon Musk and Big Balls. Do you think they've got the level of intelligence to even sit in the same room with that guy, right?
No, of course not. No, absolutely not.
That's my thing. And then the second thing I heard right before I got on, I heard Putin say it himself that he sent Donald Trump a personal gift, over to him, and he can't disclose what it is, but it's personal. Any other person or any other president, whatever, that would have been all over the news, and no one's even talking about it. I don't understand that.
Well, that's a violation?
Come on.
What? But isn't that a violation of the emoluments clause?
100%. You can't even, like, if you're a government official, you can't go to lunch and somebody buy you a tuna sandwich because you've got to explain it.
Hey, T, let me tell you something. I'm a union representative, right? So if somebody gives me a gift, like let's say it's just a golf outing or something like that, and the value is more than $250, I have to file a form with the federal government and report it on an LM30 form to tell the federal government that this vendor or this person gave me something. Of course, I never do that. I always ask that question in advance. But so I have to go, like me as a union rep for a little local union, has to report this shit to the federal government. But Donald Trump can take something from an adversarial country under the emoluments clause and not be held accountable for it? That's fucking ridiculous.
Not only that, they're not even talking about it. I've seen it on the news like 5 times a day, but the same channel, but not the big ones. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's just not a point of contention. And to think that these guys can sit in the same room and replace somebody like Foxtrot Delta. And there's another lady in your comments also. You can tell she works for the government, and she's pretty smart. And you got Rebecca and TJ. But you got these 19-year-olds who's parading around like, yeah, we got this under control.
I was wondering, Trucker T, you maybe have some insight to this. If one of Elon Musk's lackeys goes by the name of Big Balls, then should we assume that Elon Musk should be referred to as Tiny Balls? Because that seems to be appropriate.
Or
sounds right.
Or I could say something else, but this live will get taken down.
Yeah, please don't do that. Then I'm going to have to put you in the same room with British John, and then we got all kinds of fucking problems.
No.
He was live earlier tonight, and I was like, should I tell him? And I'm like, no.
It's not a secret that he had some kind of botched surgery, which is, public record now.
Yeah, who knows what the hell he's got going for him? Yeah, it is frustrating, but that's the one thing, Trucker T, you maybe notice it in your lives and stuff. There's a lot of people out here that are very fucking smart, a lot smarter than me, and that's why I like bringing them up, like you and TJ and Rebecca and Eric and Foxtrot and Oliver's mom. It's great getting insights, and that's what this is all about. A lot of people talking. Some people go on lives and want to pontificate as they know everything. I don't know everything. My wife will fucking attest to that.
Right.
So it's important we all talk. We make noise. We create a groundswell.
Yep, you're absolutely right. We had a guy on our live the other night, Mike. We were talking about something, and we Medicaid, and he came on and said that I'm in Illinois. I got approved to get my insulin through Joe Biden. When I finally go and get it, they tell me
Oh
that
yeah,
insurance was canceled. Remember that, TJ?
yeah, I remember that. Yeah,
Yes. Here's a guy. All of a sudden, now he can't get his insulin. Right?
Wow.
Canceled.
That's tragic.
Yes.
That is absolutely tragic. I mean, that's tragic. I mean, people are going to get sick and die and suffer because of some guy wants to show how tough he is or how smart he is, and he's neither tough or smart.
That's the whole thing. They don't care if people die. They don't care if people die.
No.
They literally do not care if people die.
And then the last thing I want to say, Elon was bragging again today about cutting off another 300,000 government credit cards. You know what I mean? And that's just insane. A guy was he was on Will's Live saying that he's down in Florida and he's at the new VA. And they've got 10 C machines, as he called it. And
Wow.
one of them was broken. And the other 9 were being used, but they couldn't go out and get a new one because they only have $1 on their credit card.
Wow.
yep. They can't buy gas to pick up veterans for their appointments with their buses. Nothing.
That's absolutely appalling, and things will crumble, and then Donald Trump will make up some excuse that it's somebody else's fault. It's tough watching this because we know the DOJ, we know Congress isn't going to do anything, so we just have to watch Donald Trump and Elon Musk destroy the country. And I'm afraid that's what it's going to take for us to come out the other side. There's always some Teresa in Walgreens parking lot, we were talking about this, how you can go look at history and it peaks and it goes very well and it always crashes badly before it goes back up. And I feel like we're kind of in that position right now.
Yeah.
Yep. So anyway, well, thanks, Mike, for bringing me up. I appreciate it. I didn't want to run the show.
Thank you, Trucker T. I appreciate it. It's always good to hear from him. Very smart guy and always great to hear from him. Let's see who else we got. We'll do this one here. I'm not sure. I can't. Okay, it's Melanie. Melanie's been on the show before, and we'll see if she pops up here shortly. Hopefully, if not, we'll. There we go. Melanie, how you doing? Hello, Melanie. Are you there? I don't think she's there. All right. Well, we'll move on to the next one. We probably caught her in the middle of something. Let's see. I think, who else can we bring up here? I kind of try to pick and choose, worried about maybe getting a goofball. Now, I'm not opposed to pulling a Trump-la-fuck here because I'm in a mood to kick some dumbass ass. But anyway, this is a recent guest, and we know this lady, 75 Corvette. How you doing, and what's on your mind today?
Hey, how you doing, guys
We're doing well.
and lady? There's so much going on. Pick a subject, and you can't get an answer, right?
Right.
I'm a little bit excited and a little bit thinking we might be turning the corner with Bernie's oligarch tour, right?
Yeah.
And my only issue is, and I'm like that kind of person that really likes fairness and really likes to give credit where credit's due. Bernie Sanders is 83 years old.
Yeah.
His state has found him worthy of giving him this seat for many decades now.
Right.
He's leading the pack, and he's not even a Democrat, right? Not
Right,
even
exactly.
a declared Democrat, and he's out doing more, fucking work than any one of those mealy-mouthed, whiny little bitches, including Schumer and all his little followers over there. than any Democrat is doing. And then after he gets it rolling, because he started out in Wisconsin in a red district, and he said his target was to talk to the disgruntled MAGA and Republican voters in their districts on their territory. And he opened up the discussion. This is when he was traveling alone, basically to the crowd, and said, tell me your problems. Tell me what's bothering you. He listens to the people. He already knows the answers. The man's so goddamn smart. He's been doing this for so long. He's been telling people about these problems coming for decades, long before Hillary ever said, look out for Trump when they were debating. And now AOC is on the track with her. And look, I have nothing against AOC or Jasmine or Maxwell or any newbie that's come along or any older congressperson who's been, getting their toes wet, like they've only been there for one term, maybe, right?
Right.
But Bernie is now being sidestepped for AOC. Right now, everybody's talking about the Democrats are doing, AOC is doing that. No, AOC is being mentored by Bernie. That's what's happening here.
Yeah, but I'm not entirely convinced that that's not Bernie's plan.
Oh, I'm not saying it's not his plan. I'm saying, and Bernie is not a man who seeks out admiration from the crowds. Because if he was, he never would have been on the stand he's been on for the last 4 decades. He's basically a man
He's just
who
trying to
has.
get the truth out there. He doesn't.
That's right. He basically is a man that has a plan.
He doesn't need the glory. He just wants to get the truth out there.
He's basically a man with a plan, and he's executing it now. And finally, the Democrats are on board, and AOC is leading the charge on that side of it, right? But you do not see anyone else stepping up. She's the only one.
Well, Jasmine Crockett is to a certain extent.
but
Tim
that's
Walz. Tim Walz is. Beto is.
I'm talking about that. They just came. Remember, look at the timing. They all started. Not Jasmine. She's been out there since day one. But the others, like Tim Walz coming back into the fold, they're all sort of following. Like Bernie had to break the ice, and now they're all following. But yet again, they're still incongruent, right? They are not on the same page at the same time with a united front, with a united message. And this is the problem with Democrats. Their messaging sucks the big one all the time.
Yeah, it does. It does. I will tell you this. I heard somebody say this. They said, how about AOC and Bernie for president and vice president? I don't know which way they wanted to go with that.
Never gonna
That's
happen.
not going to happen.
No.
He's going to be 87 years old. Bernie is doing this for one reason. Bernie is probably one of the only politicians I can say absolutely does it for this reason.
For the country.
He does it for the country, for the love of the country, for the love of the government, and for the people. Bernie's always been for the people. And everybody else jumping on board may or may not be doing it for the people, but they're doing it for their own benefit.
And Bernie,
There is no benefit for Bernie in doing this because his political life is nearing its end.
Well, there is. The benefit for Bernie is to pull AOC in, somebody who is a viable candidate.
It's to set the stage.
Yeah, but
he wants to set the stage for the next generation of people coming behind him.
But setting the stage, the Democrats should be setting the stage for Democrats.
Oh, without question, that should happen.
And not one of those elder, more experienced than AOC have stepped in to join Bernie to unite. Like at least at the end, Bernie said, put his hands up in an advertisement with Biden and said, I'm going to back this guy, right? As much as it killed Bernie to say that, because he knew that he didn't really want to back Biden, but he sure as hell knew he didn't want Trump to win again. He did the right thing. Where are the Democrats doing the right fucking thing? Where are the elder Democrats getting in there and buddying up with Bernie and both mentoring more Democratic youth? And they're not that young. These people are grown adults. They're not youth like people like college graduates. AOC's in her 30s. They're not kids. They just need the backing of the bigger party so that the party can become unified. And again, Bernie is out there alone leading the pack, and there's no Democrats coming on board to say unify the party behind the message, regardless of who's
Yeah.
delivering that message, right?
That's not true that no Democrats are coming on board. AOC is right there beside him now.
You got
And
to
that,
get off of AOC, Rebecca, because you people who
I'm
are
not.
putting all your eggs in one basket, she ain't
Nope.
the only ticket out of this.
No, that's not. I am not saying that at all. I'm saying that AOC has aligned herself with him, and that's a huge step for the Democratic Party.
Yes, it is, but that's
It's
not my
not,
point.
and I don't
My
mean
point
just for
was
her. I don't
we
mean
need
her in
more than
general.
we need more than one Democrat to get on
Well,
board.
of
She's
course,
already look.
of
She's
course we
already
do, but we have
signed,
to start somewhere.
but she's already signed up. They've already paved the way. I think they're on their third location together, their third venue. Where is everybody else running to jump in here? That's what I'm talking
Yeah.
about. Let's stop talking about AOC. She's already in the game. Let's stop talking about Jasmine. She's already in the game. Who else? That's it? Those two women are going to carry the whole party? Let's get real here.
Well, part of the
Well, you make a point, and you have to wonder why more people aren't jumping in. I mean, Tim Walz is doing what he's doing. Beto is doing what he's doing. There are people trying to
Beto
do
was a
things.
failed politician, remember, Boomer?
No, I agree with you.
He's not won a single election, so I wouldn't be putting my eggs in his basket either.
Well, Pete's
I
out
agree with
there.
you completely.
Yeah, well,
Pete's out there too.
he
Well,
lost
Pete
elections
Buttigieg
to
is
gerrymandering
okay.
mostly.
Also never been a politician, okay? So you really can't, you got to get the congressmen in this, the people who are making the decisions, who write the laws, pass the bills, have the power. We don't care about the outliers who are supporting the Democratic Party. And I love Bernie to death, and I wish he would be a Democrat, and I wish he wasn't 83, and I wish he could run again, all right? But like you
Yeah.
said, his life in politics is pretty much over. And yet at 83, he is out there stomping like he was running.
Yeah.
The man is like amazing. We can give them all their kudos. Where are the rest of them? 535 people in Congress, 100 senators. We are the minority. I think we have 40 to their 60 or whatever the fucking number is. Where are
48,
any
47.
of the 40? Where are the other ones? And then the House of Representatives. Where are those Democrats? Are we hanging our hat on two fucking women in politics? Is that it? And Tim Walz, who's a governor.
Let me ask you this though, and I've said this before, and I know people push back against this, and I don't mean this for any other reason other than what we learned in the November 5th election. Clearly, we have more racist and more sexist in this country than we imagined. It's important the next election we win.
Yeah.
I don't care who it is, we win.
need two white men.
And unfortunately, it has to be a white man.
That's
and that's
it.
the unfortunate. And I hate
it.
that I have to say that.
I know.
But based on what we saw on November 5th, that seems to be the case.
I agree with you. And this is what the Republicans do so well. They only want to win, and they only do what they think is going to make them win. That's the way
Right.
the Democrats have to start thinking. Let's stop thinking about Obama broke the glass ceiling on racism. Okay, we're done with that. That was a fail. He got his 2 terms, and they've been paying us back ever since then, right? With everything that
Right.
they've been planning and all the hate and all the racist, bigoted bullshit that's out there. You think that a Jewish man who's 83 and a Hispanic woman who's a junior House Republican, not even a senator, are going to take the ticket? No way. Not even in 4
No.
years. No way.
No.
You think that
No.
Buttigieg, who is an LGBTQ outed man, who they will absolutely not get behind 100%, matched up with anyone else but another white man, could even have a chance at this? People are not thinking sensibly. We got to think to win.
Buttigieg could possibly be a VP, but
Maybe.
we know that we know this country is not going to vote anyway but white male, and that's absolutely unfortunate. 75 Corvette, thank you for coming on. It's always great to hear from you. You're spirited and you have a lot of insights. And
And after what Gavin did, he can go to hell too.
yeah, Gavin's done. Gavin's done, unfortunately. He might have been a good candidate, but he's a little establishment too. So 75 Corvette, thank you very much for coming on. I appreciate it immensely.
Okay.
Every time 75 Corvette comes on, it kind of makes me feel like being around the house here when my wife's in a mood and I did something stupid, and which is she's not always in a bad mood, but I always do something fucking stupid. So anyway, we're gonna pull somebody else up here. It looks like I'm guessing Mother Trucker. Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me all right?
What? I can hear you fine. What's on your mind?
So, I'm a lifelong Dem.
Okay.
And never voted any other way. And, I always thought they're for universal health care, just a fairness, human rights, all that. And I recently had my world rocked when I went and read the Green Party platform. I'm not for Green candidates, okay? But you know how we don't have a platform until we get the candidate?
Right.
And I'm just saying, we need to adopt a platform. And until we can adopt a platform and get everybody on the same page, that these are the basic principles of what we stand for, okay, then we're not going to get much done. But these are all very populist ideas. The polls, say it. And I'm telling you, there's a 10-point summary of the Green Party platform. And it is, you can argue on the details and all that, but it's everything I thought the Dems were doing, but they're not.
Yeah. Right.
And
Well,
they've teased it all to us over the years.
Well, I think the mistake that they made going into the November 5th election, and hopefully they learned a lesson, and it's logical to do what they did. It's Donald Trump's a criminal. Donald Trump's adjudicated sexual offender. Donald Trump is this. They fought against Donald Trump. And that makes sense that would work, but it didn't. And I think you're absolutely right. What the Democrats have to focus on, we got a lot of fucked up shit in this country, especially after Donald Trump gets done. What are you going to do for us, and how can you do it? How can you fix it? And have specific details as to how you're going to do it. That seems to be the winning combination we are going to need.
Yeah, and if they don't commit to a platform, to where when they go and debate, we can say, do you stand for this?
Absolutely.
And
hold them to it.
Exactly. And I think, you can't wait for the candidate to make the platform. They can take and put specific bills that lead to those goals.
Right.
But we have to have a unified platform. And I'm telling you, I don't think that I want to go green, right? Green
No.
Party. But
Well, they can't win anyway.
Right. I want the Dems, to pull that green in. You see what I'm saying?
I'll be honest with you. In 2028, we have to win at all cost. And if that means putting Pauly Shore up to do it and he will win, I'll vote for fucking Pauly Shore. That would be better than any fucking Republican.
Oh,
Can I ask you guys-
That's a hard sell, but possibly.
One
Yeah,
yes
go
or no
ahead.
question for everybody on the panel here. Have you actually read the Green Plan? I never have until a
I
couple
never
days
have.
ago.
I haven't.
And same here. And I'm telling you, it rocked my world. It really did.
Actually, Mother Trucker, I'm waiting for Pete Hegseth to text it out. Then I'll take a look at it.
Right? What an idiot.
Right.
Oh my
as soon as
gosh.
Pete Hegseth includes me in his signal text.
Yeah. Just ridiculous.
I gotta get on Signal.
So yeah, all I'm saying is, I don't think that I'll never go green because we need to be in power, and they just don't have it. But I do think
No.
that their platform is something that the Dems need to read and hold our politicians' feet to that fire, because it's all the stuff they have teased to us and promised us over the years, but they don't have a unified platform, and that's what we need.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, Mother Trucker, thank you very much for coming on. I appreciate it. It's good to hear from you, and you're welcome anytime. So thank you.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Hey, I'd like to thank Eric, or I'd like to congratulate Eric on his latest sponsorship. He got sponsored by Levi's, so he's getting some free samples in the mail. So he can look forward to that.
I thought it was Dickies.
Was it Dickies? Oh, maybe I got it wrong.
Yeah.
But on what 75 Corvette was saying about where are the Democrats, there's a couple problems with that. One, the establishment Democrats, the old Democrats, they're not getting involved because they want to do things the old way. We've talked about that.
Right.
And they're not mentoring anybody younger because they don't want to give up the levers of power. They want to stay in control. So they don't want to do what Bernie's doing. But I think part of it too is the Democrats have taken the wrong message from the election. I think a lot of them have. They're confused by how they lost, and I think they're looking at it going, which way do we go? Do we shift farther right? Do we shift left? This leads into what Mother Trucker was just saying. They need a unified platform. They don't know where to go with their platform right now. They're like, do we go farther right? Do we go back more conservative because that's what won? Or do they realize there was a lot of failed things in this election where, no fault on Kamala, she ran a good campaign with the time she had, etc. But you hear that she wasn't, Joe Biden had his thumb on it a little bit. I heard in one article that said he didn't want her saying anything negative about him. So she towed the line of the party and of the administration. How much freer would she have been if Joe Biden had resigned and she'd been president? And she wasn't tied to his administration anymore.
In retrospect, that made sense.
Well, part of the problem is that they're not appealing to working class white males. That's the reality of it. And they need to focus less on small items and more on the general. And they're just not doing that. They're just not messaging that way. And that's the big fuck up. That's their biggest fuck up right now.
It is huge.
I don't know if I agree with that, because honestly, and I don't want to be a conspiracy theorist, but I'm not entirely sure that I believe that we lost the election. And I know that's not a popular thing to say.
Well, I think anytime you have Donald Trump or the Republicans or Elon Musk involved in it, even if it sounds like a crazy conspiracy theory, you have to consider it. I mean, let's be honest. Donald Trump released all the JFK assassination information. We still don't know shit about the attempted one on him. Not anything about that. They cover up a lot of shit, and you have to consider something shady going on every time they do something.
Mike, they don't want to talk about that because both attempts were done by Republicans.
True. Well, absolutely.
The whole thing is there's so much going on. Did we lose? I don't know. But as far as it goes, I'm just afraid Democrats, like I said, are taking the wrong message out of all of it. And they're not realizing that, like TJ said, they need to talk to the common, everyday working American. If they had somebody, and I say it a lot, who messaged like an FDR, keep it short, keep it simple, keep it 3 or 4 points about what they're going to do for the everyday American, about making their lives better, and just hammer that home, because that's effectively what Donald Trump did.
Yeah.
I totally agree with
tariffs,
that.
NDEI, end woke, done. And he kept the message simple, and he swept it. But if you can come through with a simple message, like FDR, a New Deal style message about rebuilding the middle class and shaking it out to where it's fair and equitable for everybody, you could have Democrats in power for 20 years. But they're not at the point where they've even come up with that message. They're still scrambling, going, where did we fail?
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
They failed on white working class men. That's where they failed.
but they
Yeah,
haven't.
They
because more
absolutely
working
did.
class men weren't going to vote for a black woman anyway. Like I don't necessarily agree with that.
It depends on how you. No, but I don't agree with that because it depends on how you message, and they messaged poorly. They didn't
No,
focus on. They did not focus on
the
the
price of
issues.
eggs.
They did not focus on the issues for white working class men. They didn't do that. They focused on a lot of other stupid stuff that it's important, but like
Their message was way too cerebral for the working class.
yes,
Yeah.
I agree with
I'm
that.
gonna bring one more guy in, and I think you'll probably appreciate this because was with us last time, and he did a great job. This is a guy that
Oh, good, yay. I thought you were going to bring up British John, and then I was going to be
no. I had enough of that for now. Big Red is with us, and Big Red is a acknowledged former Trumplefuck. Somebody I wouldn't have a lot of respect for in most cases, but Big Red is the exception to this. Big Red, what's on your mind today?
In the ever-changing world of politics, I think the big news today is obviously this national security risk that
Breach.
Yeah, it's astonishing to me as prior military. There's people that have done far less and have gone to prison for a long period of time. So yeah, this is super concerning to me. And I'm curious as to what's going to happen to these individuals. I'm assuming nothing, and nobody
literally nothing. Literally nothing, Red. Nothing.
but it should worry even people that are MAGA because their lives are being put in danger as a result of this. So yeah, it's concerning.
But her email.
What do you think should be done?
Well, I definitely think that people need to be fired. Again, if this was somebody as myself, if I was in the Army and I had a security clearance, I did something like this, I would be in deep shit, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, I don't think it's going to happen, but this is just something that we know about. I mean, what else is potentially out there that's, being compromised? Are they using the Signal app to communicate, other things that we don't know about?
Probably.
It's concerning.
This was a fuck up like we expect out of Pete Hegseth and Donald Trump, but you're absolutely right. This is the time they got caught, and we know what their behavior is, and we know how reckless they are. We can almost probably assume that there have been other fuck ups that we don't know about it, and that's the most disconcerting thing about this.
Yeah, I mean, we now China and our adversaries know that they've used Signal as a fucking communication, pathway. And I don't know. I'm not trying to laugh, but it's just kind of, it doesn't.
It's silly.
It's like, how the fuck is this happening? I don't know. I don't know how else to say it.
And how is it that Republicans still toe the line with Donald Trump after something this ridiculous, this silly, this unserious? That's the real troubling thing. If I'm a Republican and I care about the country and the people in the country and our security, I'm going to say enough is a fucking enough. I got to do something. But we aren't seeing that.
But they don't. They don't care.
That's because they're too bought in. There's a point in which you're bought in so much you ruin your relationship with your family. I mean, there's a lot of things that a lot of these people bought into, and how do you go back on that? I know that's a weird way to say it, but you have to have some sort of balls to say, hey, I was wrong, and get over this.
I understand how the base is bought in no matter what. Do you think all politicians, Republican politicians, are actually bought in? Or are they just terrified of Donald Trump? Or are they terrified that the Republican Party will go to shit? Do you think these people believe what Donald Trump is trolling out?
No.
No.
And we heard it from Kelly, Senator Kelly. After they attacked him, Elon Musk attacked him. Apparently, Republicans came up to him in private and said that they didn't back those comments at all. And I think
Isn't that worse? Isn't
Yeah,
that
I think
worse
it- I
that they
think
know
it- yeah,
better?
It's terrible. It's like, dude, have a fucking spine, you know,
Yeah.
and go out there and say what's right. You're in that position to do the right fucking thing to protect Americans, and you're not doing it. And yeah, it's sad.
And I would hope when this all shakes out and Donald Trump crashes and burns and all the people around him crash and burn, these people that have been spineless, they need to be 86 the fuck out of here too, because you're hiring people, you're electing people to support you, to help this country, to represent you, and none of these motherfuckers have done that. In the worst possible situation, they fucking failed.
Absolutely.
Right. And I have a suggestion. This whole fucking nonsense that happened with the National Security
Hegseth?
Leak. Yeah,
Yeah.
the National Security Leak. This whole thing is a big deal. And like all these motherfuckers for years and years cried about Hillary's email server. Well, you know what? Everybody should call their representative, Republican or Democrat, and say, hey, we demand an investigation on this security leak. We demand
Well,
it.
I think there's already going to be an investigation. I think that's already a foregone conclusion. And what's going to be interesting, when they have this investigation, all these motherfuckers will have to answer questions under oath. That will be interesting.
Yeah,
It'll be
I
under
agree.
oath behind closed doors.
It better
Well,
not be.
I
Yeah,
guarantee
it
you
should
they're going
be.
to find a way to game it so that we don't see all of it. And
You-
then they'll
Eric-
cherry pick
Eric-
the news clips to make
Again,
it
you guys
sound
all think that they're going to follow the rule of law.
Eric, you're proud. Actually, Eric's probably right, and I'll tell you why. Because they're going to do it under the guise of national security. They're going to say that there's confidential information, and it's not going to be part of public. It's not going to be part of public information.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Well,
nothing's going to fucking happen.
What's
I think
concerning to me is, oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead, Big Red. Go ahead.
Well, the other day I was in a MAGA live, and they were talking about loyalty to Donald Trump, and I said, you guys forget there's not loyalty to Donald Trump. There's loyalty to the fucking Constitution. Like that's the loyalty. You don't go and do whatever the president says. You follow the law. That's the whole point of this fucking thing. And it's just like they're losing sight of that because of this. Well, they've lost sight of that. But, you know, it's just I have to remind them, like, come on. Like, you know, there is a constitution in this country at some point. These people have to stand up for us.
Right. Apparently,
Yeah.
Big Red's a glutton for punishment, like I am.
Yeah. Well, I'm go ahead, Eric.
Well, a big chunk of the Republican base, the MAGA base, they don't understand a lot of what's in the Constitution. They don't know it. And that's the reason some of these Republicans are scared and they're backing out of Donald, or they're still backing Donald Trump, and they will until they think it's advantageous for them politically. I say that all the time. But the reason they're still saying it is because Donald Trump brought a lot of people who were never invested into politics into the fold, into the Republican Party. And they're now voters who only show up as long as Donald Trump's involved somehow. And these Republicans are trying to somehow keep them interested, keep them on their side so they vote for him. And that's what they're scared of. They're not scared of Trump. They're scared of the voters that Trump brought to the table. And them not coming back to the table and these people getting voted out.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'm going to wrap things up. We're beyond the time we normally go. And I play to that strategy. Always leave them wanting more. Like anybody needs more of me. You go on TikTok or in the podcast, I'm always there. This shining motherfucking face. Big Red, thank you very much. Eric, thank you. TJ, the plumber. Rebecca, as always, thank you very much for your hard work and keeping the Trumplafucks at bay. I appreciate it immensely. For all of you listening, thanks for participating. Thanks for taking the time to listen. A reminder, this will also be the Rational Boomer podcast. You can get it after midnight tonight on Spotify, the audio version, and the video version on YouTube. Just search Rational Boomer podcast. But I hope you all have a great day, and we'll talk to you again tomorrow.
Bye, guys. Thank you.